Knowing where your team is at in their group dynamic cycle or development can really help you make the right decisions of how you best support your team and let them grow together and be as efficient as the team possibly can be. In this video, we're going to go through the different stages in the integrated model of group development, and we're going to see how we can identify the different stages so that we can make the right decisions for the team to help them be as efficient as they can be. In the integrated model of group development, we have 4 stages. We have forming, we have storming, we have norming, and we are performing. So knowing where you're at in the different cycles of this team, you can go back and forth, and being able to identify this helps you identify issues with the team and also helps you guide the team through perhaps a storming phase faster if you can identify that you've fallen back into one, or identify that we're in the storming phase, let's quickly move through this so that we can come into the norming phase. Being able to make these decisions means that you need to be able to identify where your team is at. So let's start with the forming. The forming stage is usually quite easy to identify because, it's the start of the group. You very seldom fall back all the way to a forming of a new group. You might sometimes need that if you need a catastrophic restart of a project. But the forming stage is usually identified with people being quite timid and not taking up space. They really want to be shown how things should be done. And it can show up in different ways. In a software development scenario, for example, it could be that they don't really want to make technical decisions. They want to be shown what technical decisions to be made because they want to sort of figure out how this group is going to work before they will actually bring themselves into the group. Now, the storming stage, however, is one of the most important stages for you as a leader to quickly identify and quickly guide your team through. The storming stage is when people show up more as individuals to the group. They still want to align towards the group goal, but they want to figure out how they fit in this scenario. They want their dynamics to sort of be accepted. And this usually is a phase with a lot of arguments of people who take stances in different areas. It might even be subgroups forming in this stage. And it's really important to get through this stage because it takes a lot of energy, and a lot of the energy is misplaced because it goes into group dynamics instead of going into work done. However, this stage is really, really important because this is actually where the group forms and creates the norms that the group is working on in a later stage. And this is really where you also grow, or where you build trust as a leader, because guiding the group through this storming phase is really important. But you can't, in the forming stage, going and say, we're in this group, we're going to work like this. Because in a storming stage, you sort of need to let people show up and have the discussion, and then the group sort of needs to form together and make sure that all the pieces fit together. And that means people will need to sort of mend together, because no two people are a perfect puzzle piece. And in a team dynamic, you really need to make sure that the puzzle sort of fits together. But that usually means that people will make sacrifices on how they want things done, or how they think things should be in general. So things to look for in the storming stage is people taking stances on minute details, and they won't let go of it. This could be deciding brand color and really fighting for a certain shade of orange because this is the brand color, or it could also show up as sub factions of the development teams voting for different architectural styles. One really wanting to push for microservices perhaps, and the rest of them is no, it's too complicated for what problem we're trying to solve. Let's stay on a monolith until we can see that there's benefit of breaking into microservices, etc., etc. And these stances that people take, these positions that they hold really, really dearly, even though they might not produce the value that we want them to produce. They're often a sign that the person sort of wants to take responsibility of something, or feels that they haven't been listened to enough, or there's ways to work with this either through compromise and change. And unless people are actively doing something harmful, it's usually better to encourage the team to figure out how to solve these issues and how to work together as a team, as a group, and let them be a little bit autonomous. Because the end goal that we're trying to set here is a team that will work efficiently by themselves and sort of take charge and know what needs to be done, and step in and actually do those things. That's what we're trying to achieve. But we also want to get through this storming phase as fast as possible so that we can come out on the other side and focus more on delivering the actual product that we are set out to deliver. All right, so on the other side of the storming phase is the norming phase. This is when the group has sort of figured out how they want to work together, how they align to each other's behaviors, right? And usually signs that you can look for if you've reached this is they are suddenly having very constructive discussions where they're taking different points of view and they're discussing them together, and they're figuring out resolutions to these arguments or conflicts, and like focusing on problem solving instead of taking positions in for a certain like way of working or a certain color or a certain button style or whatever. Instead, they will more focus on, okay, cool, how do we actually get this to the customer that we are building things for? Or how do we make sure that we get this out quickly so that we can test this theory? Or we should try this because it's a cheaper option and then we can always add later. It's more problem solving focused. Another thing is that it usually in the norming stage, its roles sort of become more clear. Someone usually steps up to be the color guy because, well, in the storming phase, that person really was passionate about the colors, and maybe it's just easier to let that person take charge of colors so that we get a cohesive color scheme. Or maybe someone's better at testing and really is really evangelizing for test-driven development, and that's maybe the go-to person if you're struggling with a test or like trying to figure out how do we test a certain thing. So what we see also in the norming stage is that the group will probably start performing better. There will be more output as you put less effort into group dynamics and like arguments and conflicts. That effort is then put into project success and like moving forward as a team together. From the norming stage, which is typically the stage that teams are in most of the time, we can move into the performing stage. Now, this is the stage where you really want your team to execute in. It's a highly autonomous stage for the team. They know what needs to be done. They can usually go out and ask product owners or customers directly what needs to be done. They know how to take these requirements and turn them into working software or some sort of product delivery. They can make their own decisions of cutting certain features to make sure that the product ships on time because they know what the priorities are, and they know what you as a leader has a product vision. They communicate clearly, we're going to make these and these decisions because this and that. Someone can be sick and people can still fill in for that person without you dropping too much time and or efficiency from that. A better example perhaps is the test-driven development guy is sick and people will still continue to write well-written tests because they now have worked so long with this evangelist who have helped them develop this practice. So now everyone is doing it and they can share code between each other because they're all following the same coding standards. All right, so knowing how these stages act, behave, and how to identify them, allows you as a team leader or a lead in a management position or whatever to identify what kind of help that or assistance that the team needs. And you will quickly find that it's different for the different stages. So in the beginning, it might be more hands-on, going in, showing how it should be done, standard operating procedures, quickly get someone up and running because there's a way of doing things that you want them to do. But in the storming phase, for example, it's more psychological. It's more building trust, having conversations, guiding the team through conversation, and resolving interpersonal conflicts. All right, so my name's Morten Nielsen. I'm a serial startup CTO, and I build software products and development teams. I have over 20 years of experience, and if you like my content, please like, subscribe, and subscribe to my newsletter because apparently I'm supposed to say that as well. All the links are in the description below. I hope you enjoyed this content. See you next time.